Hello everyone and welcome to part 3 in our survival game series. In previous episodes we've been setting up our resources, but in this episode there's one more resource we haven't yet added, and that is the O2 or oxygen meter. So in this episode we're going to go underwater and start depleting our O2 from our character. So let's get started. So in our game we've currently got our various bars here for health, thirst and hunger, but we're going to have another bar up here for when we go underwater so we can see it tick down as we run out of air. Now to determine whether or not you're underwater is quite simple when using the water plugin. All you have to do is we go into the player character, and on here we need to set up the stat we want to use here. So we'll do oxygen. Now it'll be a float that ranges between 0 and 1. So set it to 1 first of all and hit compile. And on the event graph here we're going to go to a tick event, and on a tick event we will need to be constantly checking to see if we're underwater. If not a tick event, then a timer at least to do a check regularly enough, often enough to see if you're underwater. But we'll do a tick, we'll be fine for that. So what we're going to do here is we're going to get the water subsystem. You search for water, you'll see get water subsystem. Click on this, and now I can get information about the water system that we have in our game, including the height. Not height, sorry. If I just search for water, actually, it'll give me here. We want to get the where is it? Get camera underwater depth. There we go. And this will tell us how deep our camera is under the water. So if we do this and we print string this number, you'll see this in action. So here -1 because I'm above the water, but as soon as my head goes below it, it will start counting how deep I actually am. Okay. So let's put that to use. So when we do go underwater here, we're going to do a check to see if this value here is beneath, sorry, not beneath, but it's greater than 0. If it's greater than 0, we're underwater. So if this number here is greater than 0, go into a branch. We then want to do a do once to set off the timer to tick the oxygen. So set timer by event. Sorry, not event, function. Set timer by function. And the object will be self. The function name is going to be tick oxygen. And the time we're going to tick it is every 2 seconds on a loop. We then want to take this return value and promote this to a value. And this will be the oxygen timer. Now, what's important here is that we have this set so that when we come out of the water, we clear that timer so we don't actually start drowning when we're on land. So that will go into there and start this timer off. The reset here will happen when this is turning false. So when false is there, it will reset that and trigger this to go back and carry on. But we need to take to cancel that oxygen timer before the reset happens. So take oxygen timer out, get oxygen timer, and in here we need to tell us to clear and invalidate this timer. And there will be another timer to regain oxygen, but we'll worry about that later. Let's just plug this into tick for now, like so. Now for tick oxygen, we're going to make a new function for this, but I'm going to duplicate these ones because it's going to be basically the same. We do tick oxygen instead. So we need to take our oxygen variable here, plug this into swap these over, and for call spent resources here, we need to send over also this oxygen. So we go to spent resources here, click on the new parameter and put in oxygen. And that'll be a float. We'll plug that in to there. And thirst will go now into here. Now, because we have added an extra one to this, we do need to go back to tick hunger and tick thirst to add the oxygen to our thing here. Like so. Okay. So, we've now got the tick oxygen feature working, and we're also calling this spent resource. So let's save this and then go to our UI that we've been making. Go into the resource display and go to the graph. Now on the graph, we are going to get out different values when we bind the spent resources. We don't want thirst now to come out of here. We also want to add on there, because we compile this, we get an error. We want to add onto here oxygen as well. Let's add another float to this for oxygen. And now when I compile, the error should clear and be all good. Okay, so next we need to do is make another bar on our chart here for oxygen. So this one's going to be a little bit bigger. We're going to take the health value here. Actually, no, let's do the thirst value. And we'll duplicate this. There it is, thirst. And we'll just change that to oxygen. Yeah, just oxygen, I guess. And this one would be called oxygen value. And we're going to take this oxygen and we're going to move it out here a bit. So I'm going to anchor it to the bottom left here still, but I'm going to change the alignment here and X to be 0 and Y is going to be 1. I then want to drag that out and change the size of it too. So change the size here to 300 by 300. And we're going to position that out a bit like so. And a bit like so. So do minus 230 and 230. Okay, and there's now our oxygen meter for our bars. We'll make the font here a little bit bigger too to match the change in size. We'll change it to 40. Let's bring it up a little bit. Okay, so this is now our oxygen meter. We're going to go back to the graph. And we're going to take the oxygen value and the oxygen material and apply it to this. So go to the event graph here, and we need to set up the dynamic material for our oxygen. Let's just drag that across there. And we want to get the oxygen order here. And we're going to get dynamic material. And we're going to promote that to a variable to oxygen mat. So same setup we've used for all our resources, like so. I'll save that. Okay, so next we're going to go down to the resource display here. And we're going to add this onto here. So let's just copy all of this stuff here and paste that here instead. And just swap out the various variables here to match our oxygen. That become oxygen mat, to become oxygen value, and this will become oxygen variable. So type in oxygen, and that will be the one that goes into there and into there. Now the other thing with oxygen is we don't want to show it all the time, only when we're underwater. So once we do that, we need to make it show it when we update it to be less than 1. So if this value here is less than 1, we're going to do on oxygen mat here, set visibility, or set, sorry, render opacity, not the oxygen mat, sorry, the actual oxygen value, there you go. Oxygen, and set visibility, I can type, and set visibility is going to change based on that boolean there. So let's plug this into here and make it a select node. So visibility select, and we're going to plug our boolean into the bottom there. So if it is less than 1, I want it to be visible. So true will become visible, or more accurately, non-hit testable. And if it's false, I want to make it hidden. Okay. And that will do. Compile and save this. So at the very start of the game, we're going to check this resource display here and make sure that that is actually going to be hidden at the start. So we go to the construct event and do resource display. And we're just put in, for now, 1, 1, 1, and 1. File, save. So let's test this out now. So I've got no oxygen meter, but if I go underneath here, it will trigger that and make the oxygen appear. And I will now lose oxygen. And what we're going to do now is make it so that when we run out of one of these meters, our health is going to tick instead. Okay, so also we need to clamp our value so don't go into negatives like this. So let's go and do that. And that'll be on the player. So yeah, when we tick oxygen here, we're going to just clamp this value. Like so. Clamp float between 0 and 1. The oxygen there. Now, this will be the same for the other two as well, for thirst and for hunger. But when we run out of oxygen, when this value here is 0, so we do drag out and do equals to 0, this is going to change what we do here. So we're going to do branch. If it's false, it will do the oxygen stuff. If it is true though, we're going to change the health. So health, and we'll do get health. We'll do health minus float, and do minus, let's say 10, or not 10, sorry, 0.1. And then we're going to set that back to health. But not before we clamp it. So we clamp the value here. 0 and 1. And if our health is below or equal to 0, we'll put in a condition here to check and to kill our player character. So make a function here called player death. And we'll just leave it like that for now. And then tick oxygen, we just call player death. Like that. So as I said, this bit will be the same for the others. So we're just going to select this and copy it. Go to tick hunger. That in. And this will go into the branch. The condition will be when hunger here is clamped. Clamp float. And the value here is equal to 0. It's false, it'll go to normal hunger stuff. It's true, it'll go to the health stuff. Save. Oh, you also need to call resources here. So call that and put that at the end here. Not at the end, sorry. On between health and the branch. So health will go into the health there, but hunger, thirst, and oxygen will go in there alone. So we also want this. Tick oxygen here too. And we'll plug that in between there and there. Okay, and so that's those ones done. Let's just copy that content again. That and that. Copy all this and then take this to the tick thirst and plug that in here. So we'll put that in to the branch. This into the false. And the thirst here and here will disconnect and plug it into value for clamp float. And if that is equal to 0, it will do this. We'll just set that to thirst. Okay. So just like the others. Thirst. If it is equal to 0, then it's going to be true and it's going to be clamped and change the health value. Okay. So let's see if this works. I'm underwater. Checking my breath. And if it gets down to 0, which then should the health bar be the one that changes instead. Okay, so our health bar at the moment is doing a weird thing where it's setting a number to 0 and flicking back to what's correct here. So let's take a look at what's going wrong here. Okay, so looking at the tick thirst here and the others, I forgot to plug in health value into our spent resources here. So make sure that is plugged into there, and that is also plugged into there too. Compile and save, and now we'll test that out again properly and see how that works. Okay, and now we've got our health depleting because our oxygen and everything else has been set back down. And the reason why it's going to 9 and not going down to 0 is because we didn't put the set oxygen here before the branch instead of after. So let's set these before. So that goes down here, down to set oxygen, like so. And on false, we just call spent resource and just chuck in the oxygen into there. And we'll do the exact same for everything else. So we'll just go to tick hunger, plug that in before the branch. But the result from this would come from the clamp, so make sure the clamp goes in there. And then false would go down to here. Plug in the hunger. Compile. Go to thirst. We're going to do set thirst before the branch. And that will come from the clamp. It does. And we then just drag our thirst value to thirst. And that should do it. Okay, it's gone down to 0 now and shown it depleting the other numbers. Perfect. And there we go. We can now hold our breath underwater and start taking damage if we wait for too long. In the next episode, we're going to add a few more features to the system and then start designing our island itself so that we have nice resources that we can go around and collect and gather. You can watch that next episode right now over on patreon.com/Ryan Laley. You can catch all my videos early from just $1 a month. I want to say a massive thank you to all my patrons and YouTube members for their continued support. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye everyone.